everyone. This is Kim O'Neill from the Every Day's a New Day podcast and live show, and you're listening to the Going North podcast with the hilarious Dom Brightman. Be sure to subscribe to his show so you don't miss any episodes, and remember, every day is always a new day.
And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, the Going North podcast, GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, that's right. And we got another super special, awesome human that could probably fit all three of those G's because, my goodness, we got an overcomer in the building, y'all. That's right, with a giant capital O and a giant capital R. That's right, because she's an overcomer and she's freaking radiant to boot. Because today's guest in particular, another super special, awesome author from the Mayhem to Miracles book, M2M Goodness, is the founder of IPride, which is a successful youth empowerment program, and co-founder of IPride Life Coaching. She's not only a published author, she's also a living kidney donor and a fervent advocate for sexual assault victims. And to even add some icing to this cupcake, she's a proud mother of 3 sons and 3 dogs. That's right. So boys and all the woofs. So let's give it up for the one, the only Laura Gray. How you doing today, Laura?
Hi, Dom. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure indeed. That's right.
Yeah,
right.
I need to clarify on the three sons and the 3 dogs. They were not in the same litter. I just realized the way you read that, and I'm like, it sounds like, it's a puppy palace, puppy pound.
All right, well, this is going to be a good conversation because I wasn't even going that direction. Same litter, okay. I'm sure you're better people than that. Don't worry, I'll give you better credit than that. Same litter. Well, anything else that needs clarification from the bio?
Nope. Just the initial thing that you and I discussed offline, like how I published versus, how I go by every day. The Laura versus the L.E. Gray. It's kind of like my, I don't want to say my altar because that's hitting close to home. I just viewed it as a kind of like S.E. Hinton, who wrote The Outsiders. It was like Ellie Gray. I thought that's kind of cool. Until people started interviewing me and calling me Ellie. I'm like, well, you can call me Laura. And they're like, well, why? Because that's my name, So anyways, I guess it's just part of the mystery of being a writer.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Part of the mystery indeed. That's right. That's right. Lifting up the fog for some folks, who buy 77 copies of Mayhem to Miracles, like L.E. Gray. Wait a second. Is this Laura Gray? Yeah, it's the same human. That's right. It's the same fabulous human, y'all. That's right. That's right, indeed.
I've had people like screenshot and send it to me and saying, is this you? Yes, it's me. Buy the book. Buy the book. So...
Yeah. Do they look at the book, then look at you, then look back at you and ask if you're sure?
Yeah. Are you sure? And then they read the story and it just takes on a whole new meaning. And there's there's so much that's universal, I think, in my story. And that's part of why it was so important for me to really go public and share my story and speak my truth. Because there's so many people that have experienced similarly trauma, some similar trauma in their lives. So it's important for me that people see me and the fact that I like the word overcome, but for me, I really didn't overcome anything. I worked through it, and in many cases, I still am. So it's just a different perspective, I guess.
Okay, so we'll go with outstanding. She's standing out from the crowd of the past Laura. That's right. That's right. The current Laura is probably the best version of Laura. That's right. That's right,
Oh,
indeed.
that's yeah, the best version of Laura. Yeah, that could be very true.
Oh, yeah. That's right, indeed. So I'm good that you actually shared your story in the book because, heck, even from a personal perspective as the host, like talking with people, especially, I think it was like episode 12 with the first ever, at least to my knowledge, person on the show that actually gets that actually dealt with sexual assault as a child, like learning that it was usually folks closest to them, like whether it was family or like even those in positions of power, similar to your story. It's just such a shame that really that's been going on for decades and seems like it hasn't really stopped, but there's at least folks like you putting out the information out there, putting out the stories of stuff that happened in the past to at least give folks a warning like, hey, listen to the kids here. Like, listen to the kids. They
Oh
usually
yeah.
are more aware.
Yeah. That's very 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 true because, kids, especially in a case like that, they don't lie. They don't lie. My case, the abuse itself stopped when I was 6 years old, and I did not tell anyone until I was 32. And that a big part of that reason was for the 3.5 years he was abusing me, he continually said, if you tell anyone, they won't believe you, and I will kill you and your mother. So if you hear that and you're 3 and you're 4 and you're 5 and you're 6, that's built into your programming during the trauma. You're going to believe that. And so when it stopped when I was 6 years old, I kept my mouth shut. I wanted to live, and I wanted my mother to live.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because there's no telling. Hey, some folks may follow through on their actual threats. And you're like, I don't want to test if he's going to follow it or not. Especially being kids, like, I have no idea what the heck is going on. Like, let me keep me and
Well,
my
when he
mom alive here.
Yeah, I mean, when he pretty much had control of me in many, many ways, of course, I believed him, you know?
Yeah, I could definitely say that again. So, what was the process like of finally deciding to really share basically what happened to you at the age of 32? Was it like you found out because the abuser, is he dead now, or do you know, or?
He passed, yes, I do know. He passed in March of 2015. At the time I was 3, he was 47. And that went on, like I said, until I was six and a half. And so, yes, he passed away in March of 2015. And I started to tell people when I was 32. I had a son who at the time was 1, and I think his birth uh, just kind of brought it out of me. Brought it out of me as now I was a mother. It was you know it was my responsibility and my opportunity to provide love and security for another human being, and I think it just kind of brought out what I had experienced in the trauma, and I started to speak about it, and people believed me, and that was just such a huge gateway to the start of my healing, because he's insisted no one would ever believe me. And so when somebody said, well, I'm so sorry that happened to you, and I kind of looked at them like, oh, you mean you believe me? And it was like, well, yeah. And so, and I think also people that were really close to me, and I shared the story and the truth, it probably in some ways explained some of my past behaviors that may not have otherwise made some sense. And they're like, oh, and it kind of put things to get in perspective.
Oh yeah, hindsight is always 2020. It's like, man, it kind of reminds me of that quote of the fact that experience can be the worst teacher because it gives you the test and then it gives you the answer afterwards.
Right. Yeah, and it reminds me of actually something my father, which I wrote about in the story briefly, when I was learning to drive and my father was teaching me. He always said, "Quit looking in the rearview mirror. The road is out in front of you." And I remember when he said that to me, and obviously he really did mean it. Like, pay attention because we're in this car together. But years later when I look back, it just had such a bigger and more profound meaning to it.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Because you always got to look forward. Can't be looking at the rear view mirror all the time because, well, hopefully you're parked if you look at the rear view mirror.
Right, right. And you've already traveled that road. So you know what? The real growth is ahead. The real growth is ahead. And I actually, as I just said those words, I think I really needed to hear those words. So,
There you go. That's right. Tree swag ahoy. That's right. She's going to be branching out, y'all.
oh, yeah, never know.
That's right. The positive shade from Laura is coming, y'all. That's right. So when it
Mm,
gets hot again in the summer, Laura's got you covered like a tree. That's right.
yeah, I love that. You know what? I love that. I try to hike every day. It's really, to me, where the magic is. Everything that's real. Um, just the growth there, and I feel so connected to nature, and I feel more connected to God that way, actually.
Ah, well, amen to that. Hike is good for you, extending the youth, keeping the legs strong indeed. So, do you feel like that's one of the things that helps you to really get on this growth journey from the past and really healing from it? Because I'm pretty sure there might be some folks out there listening right now. It's like, man, they may have went through some sexual assault, or heck, they may even know somebody. I'm pretty sure everybody almost knows somebody's went through sexual assault, and
Oh
that may
yeah.
be
Oh, no
going through
doubt.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any advice for those maybe going through that time now with your experience of recovering from that?
You know what? It's hard because everybody's unique. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's trauma is different. How they experienced it, how they processed it. And I know for me, I, I identified so strongly with it because, first of all, it happened to me, and it happened to me for so long at such a developmental stage. And then after that, you kind of just wore it. It became a part of me. And then I had packed it into my suitcase or my backpack that I carried around through life. And the real testimony and the start of my healing was when I unpacked it. I unpacked it. That's him. That's his stuff. And I forgave him, and I released myself. And like sometimes if you're traveling and you get up to the gate, and they're like, well, your bag's too heavy, and you're like, oh, what am I going to do? And you start throwing out, the heavy shoes, putting it in another bag, whatever. Well, it's a similar process that I've discovered in life, and you look and you're like, well, why is that still in my bag? I don't need that. That serves no purpose, and those types of things. And it's really, the door to our journey opens inward. And the more I have discovered that and really stayed true to that and unpacked is the core of my healing. And part of that unpacking and being inward happens when I'm outdoors.
There you go. That's right. Getting that nature, y'all. That's right. That's right. You might even want to be like the host, too. Get a tan. I'm telling you, the tans are amazing. Just saying. Yeah.
Oh, Dom.
Hey, don't worry. I work on my tan a lot, as you can tell. Oh, man. But definitely solid advice right there, indeed, because it's really how we heal, especially. I think that's another reason why forest bathing is kind of a thing. When at the end of the day, it's just, hey, you're just going in the forest and enjoying nature, like being outside, being truly human, getting yourself closer to the good Mother Earth, and really
Mm-hmm.
earthing yourself and getting into that earth indeed. So, if I'm not mistaken, there was also a particular disorder that you also had to deal with during this whole well, be honest, life. It ain't even a phase. It's just life. The DID, if I'm not mistaken, if I got the acronym right.
Correct. Right. So that did not, and I do share this in my story. And actually, you know what? I it's not even a story to me. You know why it's not a story? Because it's a chapter. I'm still writing my story every day. Every day I turn the page when I wake up and say, I'm grateful to be alive. Thank you, God. What does this day have in store for me? So the chapter of the Miracle Mayhem, Mayhem to Miracles book, which my chapter is called From the Edge of Death to the Gift of Life. And just the portion of being abused as a child and part of my coping mechanism, as I later learned and actually only learned officially was 3 years ago at this time. So it's still pretty raw, and it still can be difficult to process. But 3 years ago at this time, I was diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, which, as you said, was DID, which is the acronym for it. And for those of you that have been on this earth for a while, it used to be known as multi-personality disorder. And so now they call it dissociative identity disorder, which actually is truly more a deeper or more meaningful explanation of what it is, because during the trauma, especially at such a young age, I would disassociate. I would leave my body, so to speak, mentally. I would splinter off and disassociate. Although my body obviously still felt the impact of the abuse, my mind escaped. And in that course of the time, I had developed different personalities, or as I like to call them, well, I don't want to say I like to call them. I think this is what they're called, alters, which is short for alternative personality. So the alters just had come out. So over the course of time, I had developed 9 alters, which is, even for me, it's quite fascinating. And at first, when I was diagnosed, well, there was two prongs to it. And I think this could be for some diagnosis in general. But at first, I was very relieved because it made sense for some things that had occurred in my life and some of my behavior. And so as much as it was a relief, it was also devastating because, here I had really survived and tried to put together a solid life. And then 3 years ago, to be diagnosed with something like this, that I'm grateful there is no medication. The way to heal through it is really just to honor it. I honor the presence in my mind, and I've learned how to manage it. And some of the managing is just because I'm aware. And I don't know, there are certain things that people that, if they suffer from migraines, well, they know for the most part what triggers that migraine, dehydration, lack of sleep, red wine, turkey, whatever. I know there's a number of things. So in my case, I am aware, and I pretty much know what can trigger one of the alters. And so awareness is key. And I like to say, that I own the house and they rent rooms, and we kind of cohabitate, and it can be very fascinating for sure. And I think if you have ever had the opportunity to meet or interview some of my very closest friends, they probably could say, "Oh yeah, we've seen a few," and unintentionally and maybe unknowingly. But now with the diagnosis, it's like, oh yeah, now it all makes sense. And so it was 3 years ago already. But you know what? I feel really, what? I just thought about this now as I was talking. What's kind of weird in a way was that, so I had the diagnosis 3 years ago, which is like somewhat, hey, you're kind of fragmented. But in many ways in my life, I've never felt more whole. And that's really good.
So I'm talking about indeed. That's right. That's right. indeed. Well, my goodness, congrats on the diagnosis in terms of being aware of it now so you can actually
Right.
move even further ahead with your growth from everything that you've had to deal with in your life. And with this particular story in particular, I'm sure there's a lot of details you probably left out too. So, do you plan on going fully solo in the future with a full book, the L.E. Gray special?
Oh, you know what? Don't rule it out. Don't rule it out. I'm
Ah,
always writing. I mean, I write every day. So it's just like to me, writing. So with IPride, which is my self empowerment program for youth, it's a self esteem program I started in 2015. When I talk to the children, I let them know. I said, "Your heart is your biggest muscle. Let's make it strong." And we talk about love and creative self expression and judgment free environment and just all kinds of good things. And so I think for me, by writing every day keeps my heart muscle strong. It's just like everything. If you work out, you train, you strengthen your biceps or your triceps, whatever. And in my case, writing really provides clarity and strengthens my heart.
she's starting to drop some jewels on us, folks. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Writing keeps your heart muscle strong. That's right, folks. Folks may be thinking, oh man, I was thinking of the good old Cheerios box lowering cholesterol. Like, nah, fam, do some
Oh,
writing instead. Yes, they do some of
actually,
that
I haven't
writing.
had the only time I've ever had Cheerios since you brought it up, which is kind of funny that we're discussing Cheerios. But if I had to pick, it would be a Fruit Loop. It would be a Fruit Loop, by the way. But I have, on occasion, been known to drop Cheerios into my yogurt.
Ah, well, Cheerio.
Little crunch to the yogurt.
uh, that's what I'm talking about. Well, since we brought up magical food, not to drop this question on you. If mayhem to miracles was a food item, since it's basically food for the mind and the
Ooh.
heart, what food item would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. If it would be food, what would it be? It would be sage. I don't know if you eat sage, but I just kind of like the sound of it. Just kind of mellow, peaceful, uplifting. I think sage is a spice, and I got to tell you, oh, it is? Okay. Now, you are talking to somebody that puts Cheerios in yogurt, so I just have to guess that sage is a spice. I don't know. I'm a salt and pepper kind of kid, but I think sage. I think it's sage because it provides wisdom and you burn sage, you rid the evil energy and the spirits that may be lingering. So yeah, I would have to say that the book Mayhem to Miracles is sage.
Ah, well, there you have it, folks. This book is sage, y'all. Don't burn it though. That's what I'm saying. Don't burn it. Try to
Oh yeah,
get away
no, no,
evil
no,
spirits. Like, what's wrong with you? Don't do
no, no.
that. Oh my goodness. Yeah, interesting answer indeed. Because, yeah, there is some spice in this book as well. Some spice and things that are nice. I wouldn't say everything is nice because, there's some
No,
real
but
life
some really
stories in there.
incredible stories. I mean, I was grateful to have been chosen in my story to be selected to be in this book, along with 29 other amazing authors that I've gotten to know quite a few of them. And I just really am just so proud of them and so inspired by their lives.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. Probably one of the biggest benefits of being a part of book projects like these. So, since you mentioned earlier that writing was good for your heart muscle, what was probably the process in terms of choosing what's right for this book in terms of what story to write? Because I'm pretty sure this probably, well, then again, with this was probably the biggest one. I didn't dig that much into your past like that because, it ain't out there like that. So, what was the process with
Yeah.
choosing a
No,
particular story for this book?
that's a really great question because in this particular case, my sister, I have five sisters and two brothers, but one of my sisters lives on the West Coast, and she sends me a lot of, information and just interesting things my way. And this was one of them, this book. And she said, you should submit your story. Well, that can mean a lot of different things. So that was in February of this year. And that was only weeks away from when I was donating one of my kidneys. So I assumed that she meant, your story, donating the kidney. So, I'm like, oh, okay. So I sat down and I started to write the story about the kidney. And it felt like it wasn't the whole story. And it wasn't the arc leading into it. And in many ways, and again, people that are very close to me know that I felt that story is God's story. That's not my story necessarily. I just played a role. I said yes to donating one of my kidneys. So then I thought, well, that's not it. And then I just dialed it back and I just put it all out there. And I almost, quite honestly, didn't put the DID in there because that is recent, and it's very recent to me. And I think that sometimes when people talk about, their past and their past, everybody kind of gives them some grace because, that happened when you were this, it happened when you were in middle school. Oh, okay. Well, I'm talking about something that happened 3 years ago as far as the diagnosis. And I was hesitant because I wasn't sure how that would be received and, the mental health stigma around that, my employment or whatever. And I wanted to be authentic and I made a decision to include that.
Well, there you go. There you go, indeed. Well, good thing it did. So that way you can bring more awareness to it. Heck, that's one of the reasons why mental health is a
Yeah, thank you.
big thing
You're right.
nowadays.
I shouldn't be ashamed. It just is. And actually, I have learned to honor it because it has saved my life.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, indeed. Got to honor it. Got to put on that orange robe. That's right. Put the hair in a ponytail. Because no, you don't want to shave the head bald. We don't do that here
Oh,
unless it's your option.
I didn't know what you were talking about. I mean, I wear orange, but I'm not going to shave my head. Just,
No, that's just me and my random silly tangents for keeping it lighthearted. Because, Buddhist monks and the shaved heads and the orange robes. Yeah.
and they're all burning sage.
Yeah, that's right. Sage, y'all.
Yeah.
That's right. Keeping it spicy. That's
Well, I know
right.
you're quite the author yourself. You have written a number of stories, and I know that one of your stories was also in the Sacred Stories series, Crappy to Happy. So I just want to honor you for that and being one of the authors in that book as well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you indeed. That's right, because we are all better together. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right, indeed.
right.
That's right.
Like I
That's
like to
right.
say, well, it's not my expression, but a candle loses nothing by lighting another flame. And I just love that.
That's right. That's right, indeed. It's like if a giant snowstorm happened and we were all candles, we'd be on the giant birthday cake of Earth. That's right. That's right. I'm sorry, because as you were saying that, it's just this visual of
That was your
birthday cake and
visual. That's
candles.
okay. You know what? Because you're a writer, that's just what you do. You just piece those things together. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm all about birthday cake, though. I was okay with that analogy.
Okay, good. All right, cool, cool, cool. That's right, indeed. That's right, all the cake. That's right. So, speaking of cakes, well, man, I'll probably ask that one later. So, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often when you're on the guest side of the game, on the microphone, since you're on this tour of interviews and such?
Wow, gosh, that's a great question. What question do I wish I was asked more? I think in some ways, I know the story is about, for the most part, like the past. I think I would like to talk more about my now because despite of everything, because of everything, I am a really awesome person, and I really enjoy my work with the kids in IPride. So I guess I would like to shine a light on my work with IPride.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about. So, for those who need to know more about iPride and have no idea what the heck that is, mind sharing a bit more about it and the mission of what you're doing with the organization, help out the kids, since Law loves the kids?
Yes, I would love to. IPride, which is the letter I and the word pride, so it's pride in oneself. I started the program officially in 2015. I worked with as young as 4 through college age students, and we have 2 workshops. There's iPride Right and there's iPride Fit, and the goal is to just create an environment where everybody feels comfortable to be themselves. I provide tools. I teach them mindfulness, meditation. We do affirmations. We do some basic physical fitness, stretching, yoga, writing, presentation skills, eye contact, breathing. So a bunch of different, which ultimately are leadership skills as human beings. And it's just a powerful program, and in 2 workshops that I primarily delivers to schools, although I've been in youth leadership conferences, libraries, some churches as well, but it's primarily a school-driven program.
Ah, so I'm talking about indeed. So iPride Fit, that's right. So that means you're gonna have your own fitness instructional DVD coming out soon with some six-pack abs, Laura Gray swag for the kids. It's like, yeah, I can get you these abs, kids. I'm telling you, that's right. You too could be a fit mom when you turn in your 30s. That's right. That's right indeed.
Well, and I will say, so since you brought it up, I actually do have a YouTube channel for iPride, and I created that due to COVID, when I had a local college reach out to me and said, our students could really use your work and your messaging, because I had done some in-person work with them. So I created, like many people during that time, we did a pivot, and I created a YouTube channel, and there's a series of videos called I Pride in 5, Peace In, Peace Out. And they are a series of 5 minutes, mini meditation, some basic stretching and affirmation and mindfulness. So they're very impactful, they're very simple, and they're only 5 minutes. And they were very well received by both the students and the administration.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Well, congratulations. Heck, this even popped in my mind. I probably should have asked it earlier, but when the monster passed away in 2015, was that before or after you started iPride?
Wow. Wow. All right, I'm going to tell you straight out. I never put that together, first of all, because he actually passed away in another state, and I only knew that because I kind of wanted to know that. Do you know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to know where he was living, and he was actually living in Albuquerque at the time. The idea for iPride first came into my head in 2011, but I had a bunch of other things going on in my life, some good, some not so good, and my kids were much younger. So I officially started it in January of 2015, and that was when the first person said yes. And that was kind of it. And he passed in March of 2015. So I actually like the idea that the program officially started while he was still on the earth.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, because that question popped in earlier as you mentioned the whole baggage and the weight you were carrying. Like, hey, wait a second. It's like, so that negative energy leaving the earth, and then it's like, oh, gives birth to new energy.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Ah, well, all right. Well, congratulations on 6+ years. That's what I'm talking about. That's right. Day 6-pack abs of our pride. That's right. That's right. 6 of many more to come. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. And helping out the kids, y'all. Helping out the kids of many ages indeed. So, what are you most excited about with the future coming up? Because dealt with the past and you're in the now of really living your best life in the better days to come. And I'm going to speak them into existence for you. Is there anything you're excited about in the future for yourself, Laura?
Yeah, I really am. And you mentioned a book. Yeah, I'd like to write. I'd like to write more chapters, which I feel and hopefully would shine a light and perhaps inspire and help some other people, and let them know it's okay to use your voice and speak your truth. The other thing for me, in addition to more writing, would be really the almost international explosion of what iPride can be as an enhancement to school curriculum. And yeah, that's what I see. That's what I believe.
Yeah, well, I give you kudos, keep it up, especially with the whole presentation piece, because that's funny enough. When folks ask me, like, what skills millennials should learn or young folks should learn, like, presentation skills, y'all. Like, folks are going to
Mm.
need that, especially nowadays where folks have to speak their truth and it'll give them their edge when they may need to present in front of colleagues, fellow classmates, whoever, and whenever indeed. So keep it up. That's right, folks are
Well,
going to
even
need it.
virtually. I mean, even virtually, because if you are a gamer, or you're texting or you're taking notes, etc. And it's not a dig. I'm never one to dig a millennial, because I know enough people do, and it's like, what, they've been raised in that environment, so it's just a matter of retraining and refreshing, and showing them, and really respecting the fact that, and actually, this is funny that I'm even saying this, because it reminds me of a favorite quote of mine. Forgive yourself for not knowing how to do something before you learn how to do it. And it's kind of like with them. There's skills that they just have never learned and were never taught. So let's teach them. The importance of eye contact, and honesty, and just overall verbal skills.
Yeah, that's right. That's right indeed. Because I haven't figured out the cowboy hat emoji yet. Like, I can't
Oh.
really verbalize that. You have to actually put on a cowboy hat and smile with it. I guess that's probably the
I don't
emoji
know.
version.
I probably use the same five emojis. I don't know. I think they're being creative, and I probably use the same five. I
Oh,
love the
yeah.
little smile that his hands are like right here, because I don't know. I think he's kind of like the jazz hands. Like, I use him a lot.
Ah, here we go. Jazz hands emoji. That's right indeed. Jazz hands to a hug emoji. That's right. That's right indeed. All the emojis indeed. Well, yeah, if you were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but this time you're in the current year with all of your knowledge, wisdom, and
Hmm.
experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Hmm. Have fun, and mm, I think the advice, because it really resonates with me, is forgive yourself for not knowing how to do something before you've learned it. Because I think, especially at that age, I was very hard on myself still. So, self forgiveness, and have fun.
That's right indeed. The F and F is up. That's right. Forgiveness and fun. That's right. Forgive yourself. Y'all give yourself forgiveness indeed. That's right. And go back to listen to episode 290 with Reverend Misty Time if you want to learn more about forgiveness indeed. She's got a whole trademarked forgiveness formula and fun. Well, listening to this show is fun on the bun because you still wouldn't be listening to this wonderful conversation here. And for those who want to keep still listening to Laura and keeping up with all the wonderful stuff you're doing, what's the best way for folks to do so?
They can contact me or learn more about iPride if they visit the website at iPride.net.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. Head over to that iPride.net indeed. Check out the good stuff Laura's doing with the organization, helping out the youth to be the best freaking super special awesome humans that they can be, y'all. That's right indeed. And the good news is she's still considered young herself. At least I consider her young because she ain't 85 collecting Social Security. So help out Laura. Check out all the stuff that she's freaking doing to be able to look out for that solo project. That's right. It'll be her in the cover with the leather jacket with that smiling face, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right. She might even have 2 gold weights in her hand, too, for some workout purposes. It'll be freaking fabulous indeed.
Oh, Dom. That's my hashtag for you.
That's right. Instead of oh dear, it's oh dumb. It's like, oh yes, it's me.
Here I am.
That's right. Don't worry, there's no headlights involved. Although we do like to keep the heads light from all the wisdom that comes out of them.
Right.
From the guests like you that jump on the mic. So speaking of jumping on the mic, any parting words for the folks before we close up shop?
I'm just grateful for the support that I received from people in my life and new people in my life. I'm very, very grateful for their support and the love and the love of God in my life.
How's it going, my friend? I'm glad you made it to the end. That shows that you really enjoyed what you heard and you are an uncommon finisher. Thanks for giving this show a listen. If you really want to help out the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone that you care about or someone that needs to hear this message, because we want to spread this podcast around like butter on bread, if that's your type of thing. And if it's not your type of thing, still spread it around anyway, because good stuff needs to be shared with good people like yourself.